Hello and welcome to the United Stand Sunday Night Live. If you're joining us live, if not, you're very, very welcome. And let's start off with Jose Mourinho is rumoured to be dropping one of Manchester United's big stars as he looks to rein in Manchester City. What I would say is Manchester City aren't even the best club in Manchester to wear light blue. We were. Anyway, let's crack on. Mourinho apparently going to drop his biggest, well, probably his biggest star. We're going to develop into this because I realise it's all about opinion. Some United fans are talking about it, and we'll discuss where it's come from. I'll start with you first on this, Ross. I should tell you who the player is, by the way, first of all. Apparently Lukaku, with Zlatan coming back, Mourinho will drop Lukaku to play Zlatan.
I don't think that that's the correct decision, to be honest. I think you tweeted it out, to be honest. I'm sure you agree that Lukaku is massively starved of service. And I think Zlatan, with the same amount of service, is going to score the same amount of goals. But we need Zlatan back because he will bring us something different. And it would be nice to maybe take a little bit of the pressure off Lukaku by having an extra option, because at the minute, it all falls on him. And I even think that there could be a potential, we spoke about it a lot, about number 10, but I think there's a potential to maybe have him playing with Lukaku as a front two if we play that 3-5-2 system. So we need him back, but he should not be dropping Lukaku for me.
I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Flex. I mean, effectively, it started up from where I've seen it. It's come from an ESPN show, which I can't believe they pay people to go on this. I think the only qualification is being a thick ex-footballer, because Craig Burley's on there. And Steve Nicholls, the one who's come out of it, ex-Liverpool player, who knows nothing about our club, who comes out with a comment that Mourinho will drop Lukaku for Zlatan because he doesn't even trust him to take the penalties. I mean, it was only 2 weeks ago, I think, that Mourinho said that Lukaku is undroppable.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's a load of nonsense, to be honest with you. Jose, the way he was kind of protecting Lukaku against the criticism and really standing up for him, it's not really in Mourinho's like DNA to kind of really 100% back a player unless they really are his guy. Do you know what I mean? So for him to come out and say Lukaku should be exempt from any sort of criticism from the fans because he's playing amazing, his contribution's been amazing, etc. shows to me that Jose really does believe in Lukaku, and so I can't see him dropping him. Yes, we need Zlatan back. I agree with Ross. It does give that different element, and like saying, if we're going to go with this 3-5-2 formation, then it could be really handy. It could be an interesting thing to see with Lukaku and Zlatan up front. So I think that's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, just in response to that, I mean, I think all three of us are in agreement, and I think a lot of people in the live comments are as well. But there were people saying, well, I sort of read it this afternoon, Ross. There were some United fans saying that when I'd put that tweet out saying that Lukaku himself has come out and said that he's struggled because he's been starved of service. To which some United fans replied on that very tweet saying, well, good players make chances out of nothing. I think he's got to get the ball first. You can't just run back to the centre circle, get the ball and run past 6 players. I don't know many players other than Messi who does that.
Yeah, and that's kind of not what we want him to do. It's what Zlatan did, and it became really annoying because he kept dropping deep, picking the ball up, and who was in the box. And mate, I agree. It's just an absolute nonsense story, and you always get these ridiculous stories come from these low-grade press when it's international break, because they think, who can we talk about? Who's going to get the most clicks? Who's going to get the most newspapers sold? And it's Man United. So let's just make a story up, and it will sell. And that's kind of, it happens every international break, doesn't it? Some nonsense always comes out, and then it always gets completely forgotten about as soon as the season's back. But like Flex was saying, I do like the thought of Zlatan and Lukaku together, not so much against sort of the bigger games, the bigger teams, but when we're playing these teams when we pretty much have the ball 24/7 anyway, so there's no kind of in behind running. We having Lukaku in the box is great, but can you imagine being a centre back and you've got Lukaku and Zlatan to mark? You'd be having sleepless nights thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it probably 2 months before now when United were winning 3 or 4-0, and it was like a real it was a real like sort of everyone was sort of shocked that we said it, and we said, look, I've got a funny feeling Zlatan will play at number 10, and it was when Mkhitaryan was stat padding. I'm convinced he will. I don't think we'll necessarily play 2 up front. I think Zlatan will become the number 10 with Matic and Pogba behind him, and I think it could work, and I sort of embrace it. And touching on that point, Flex, I mean, the brilliant thing is we were just moaning about the international break before we went live, and we've got through it. You know, I was terrified of it after that loss against Chelsea, but we're a week later on. In 5 days' time, we are playing. 6 days' time, we're playing Newcastle at home at 5:30, and. I think we were speaking about it last week. I think all of us support Mourinho, but we've got to be eyes open to the fact that some United fans don't. I find it really disrespectful what some people are talking about Pochettino and stuff. I just don't get it. But what I will hold my hands up, Flex, and say is that pretty much, I know it's a bit glamorous and headline-ish to say Mourinho's got 6 or 7 games to save his job, but when I look at Newcastle at home. Basel is irrelevant really because we will qualify for the Champions League. Brighton at home. Then we've got Watford away, Arsenal away, Manchester City at home, and then we've got Bournemouth at home and West Brom away before Christmas when we play Leicester away. They're all, they're good mix of games. Could go. I mean, what are your thoughts on those? I mean, where do you think we need to be by Christmas in relation to position and Manchester City for fans to stop these sort of, I'd call them murmurs of discontent against Mourinho at the moment?
Firstly, can you guys hear me all right? I've got a new phone. When I try and use it on loudspeaker, it's just not working. So can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, you can hear me good. Yeah. All right. On that, like I did tweet it the other day, like it seems like, and obviously being at the games and getting the reaction from the fans in this kind of bad period bad form that we're in, bad kind of play that how we're playing at the minute. Like a lot of fans are like hitting panic stations, and it seems like football's obviously a results business, and the easiest way to get fans off your back or to get people back on side is winning games. And you look at the next set of fixtures, and you don't want to start going into the notion of if he doesn't win these games he's out, etc., etc. But if we don't pick up the points from the next sort of at least 3 games. You look at the Watford game, we need to be winning, obviously, Brighton and Newcastle. That's got to be a 9-pointer as a minimum. By the time we play Arsenal, we need to go unbeaten. We need to win all those games as a minimum. And you do see like a bit of discontent coming from the fans. I mean, the things that the fans were saying after the Chelsea game, one fan said he's like a dinosaur from the past. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And you start to see yourself, and I got home, I thought, are we potentially on the brink of a potential crisis? Should we keep going on not getting the results that we need? And that's where I'm at. I'm not a fan that's going to kind of think and hit the panic station after a couple of bad performances. But saying that, we could actually find ourselves in a really hostile atmosphere around the club, because it's starting to mount slowly already with little bits of discontent here and there, little pockets, and you see. I know we always talk about Arsenal, but we see how the snowball effect happens there when fans start to question the manager, the board, etc., etc. And I hope that we're far away from that. But if he doesn't get the results in those games, it's going to start to creep in, and that does worry me.
I think it's a great point. I mean, George Kyle's just said it in the live comments that at Christmas we need to be within 1 result of Manchester City, which would mean 3 points, I think, and that would mean a 5-point swing in our favour. Brevy Boy says we're bloody second, relax. And I think that's where I was going to come back on Flex's thing there and say that's what concerns me. We've got all these murmurs of discontent about Mourinho at the moment, and it's foreign. I don't understand it. We are second in the league. I know disappointment in relation to some tactics at Liverpool and Chelsea, but we're second in the league. What will it be like if we're 4th or 5th in the league? And in relation to, I mean, I want to ask you the same question, Ross, but let me just give you some stats first of all. As I said, Brighton, Newcastle at home in the league. Then we've got Watford away, which will be tough. Arsenal away, which will be tough. Manchester City at home, and then West Brom away, Leicester away, and Bournemouth, I think, as well. But when I look at, I mean, I think this is where United have sort of dropped silly points and sort of given a Man City, and I wouldn't say an unsaleable lead, but a very, very tough lead, because even after this international break, we were saying in the last one, City have got a good run of games. I look at what they've got, and they've got Bournemouth at home the weekend of Christmas. They've got Swansea away on the 13th of December. Obviously, they've got us. They've got West Ham at home at the start of December. And then their next few games are Leicester away on Saturday, which I think they'll win. Huddersfield away, which I guarantee they'll win. And Southampton at home. So they're not even... There's not even... I mean, how we're going to turn an 8-point into, 3-point gap when we've probably got the more difficult fixtures, I don't know.
No, I don't either. And I think the best thing we can do, I think that comment was right. We are second and we do need to calm down. Best thing we can do is just look at our own form and forget City, because they are in the form of their lives. It's rather the Green FC, as I said the other week. They're getting all the luck in the world, and we've just got to concentrate on ourselves. And I'm with you, and I hope the majority, that I'm still fully backing Jose. The one thing that's slightly getting on my nerves is this PSG thing, and I just wish that he'd come out and kill it, but he hasn't, and it's wound me up a little bit. That's the only discontent I have with Jose. And it was a great comment on one of your tweets today from Mick Minus, I think it was, and he's a massive United Stand fan, basically saying that he hopes the PSG job becomes available, because then we will know we'll know where Jose's legions lie. And I honestly do think that job will tempt him, because, like, I think you tweeted it again, Mark, keeps commenting about, I don't know if it's your tweets, it's United Stand tweets, saying that PSG basically have what City have, and they will give Jose a realistic chance to win the Champions League over and over again. And I think his head could be turned by that, and that wouldn't be maybe his own fault. I think us as United fans, we believe that United is the biggest job in the world, and I think we're right in believing that. But when you're getting the backing that he's getting, and I know some fans say, oh, he spent this much money, but he hasn't spent a lot compared to other clubs. When you're not being backed, it doesn't become the most attractive job in world football, and I know that's hard to hear. And when you're PSG buying Neymar's, and they'll probably go out and buy the next upcoming talent for £150 million, it's an attractive job. And I think his head may be swayed by it. So I want that to happen and to finish, so we know where his legions lie, because there is some discontent coming out from Jose, in my opinion.
I think you probably hit the nail on the head for many Manchester United fans at the moment. I think lots of fans want to back Mourinho and do back Mourinho. And as Andre Gordon says in the live comments, lads, Rome was not built in a day. We will do better. And technically, we are doing better. So have some faith. United we stand. I think that's a very good comment. But I think the PSG thing has got legs. I don't know how big those legs are. There might be little legs. There might be daddy long legs. I don't know how long they are. But there are legs in the story. PSG... Look what they've done with Neymar. They took Neymar from Barcelona. I mean, that should never happen, and it's sort of not really been given... I mean, it's got some publicity, but I still think that was a massive statement to take Neymar from Barcelona when they didn't want to sell him, and take him to, I'm sorry, a pub league. It's a part-time pub league, apart from when they play in the Champions League. They will want a status manager like Mourinho. But I think, Ross, just coming back to what you said there, that where we are in relation to Manchester City by Christmas, I look at their fixtures and I think even if we do really well, 5 points might be what we want to have. I'd be ecstatic if on Christmas Eve we are 5 points off City, because it's still a chance. I fear that we might be more than 8, looking at the fixtures and the uncertainty around us. So the City thing is important, but for me, and I don't know where you feel, Flex, I think you were maybe hinting at this, there is murmuring around United fans, some United fans, in dissatisfaction around Mourinho. I think if we're in second, that will keep those rumours down. I think the problem comes if over the next few weeks, like we go to Arsenal, which is a massive game, we lose that, and suddenly we're in third or fourth. I think that obviously will be a gauge that fans unfairly will probably look at and go, well, a few weeks ago we were second, fighting for the title, we're now third or fourth.
Exactly that. I mean, football's all good when everything's rosy. All the fans were absolutely buzzing. We're winning game 4-0. We're creating loads of chances. We could be wins 5s and 6s. All of a sudden, we start drawing a game in a bad fashion. Then we lose. Then when we do win, we're not looking as good, and it starts to creep in. Then the PSG thing comes out. Then Jose sort of moaning about not getting the players, and people are saying the board's not backing him. All of these things weren't being said when we were hunky-dory slapping teams up 4-0. Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem, I think. And for me as well, what I've seen, I mean, I know our first test was the Liverpool one. That's when I was saying, right, let's see how far we've actually come. We go there, stack up negative. Perfect time to play them. We stack up negative. The same with the way to Chelsea. It's a relatively good time to play them, if you could ever pick that. It is. They weren't playing well. They're under the cosh a bit. They've got pressure on their manager. Can we go there and do something to put the pressure on them? What do? Put in another lacklustre performance. And you look at that Arsenal game, if I'm being honest with you, do I have confidence that we're going to go there and get a result? And I hate to sound pessimistic, but I actually don't. I don't see us going to the Emirates and getting 3 points. No matter how bad Arsenal are and how we laugh at them and the things that are going on there, the way Jose is setting up against these big teams away from him, I don't know what it's going to take for us to actually go at a big team. And if it gets, like you said, we start dropping to third, fourth, and then before you know it, we're kind of 12, 13, 14, 15 points off. People obviously will write off the title, and then it will start to, the pressure will start to mount on Jose, and the fans will become even more discontent. The only thing that can stop this happening right now is a good run of form. Yes, we need Paul Pogba back. We've had injuries, but it's the same for every club. We can't heap it all on Pogba. Do you know what I mean? We can't just say that the reason why we're playing poorly now is only because of Pogba. We've got so many other problems across that. Like I'm saying, we as Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, we don't have a fully active number 10. That is the link between your midfield and attack. And at the moment, we're literally playing without it. Should we be playing without it? No, because we've got a player in Mkhitaryan who's a really good player, who has all the attributes. He's not doing it. We've all kind of screamed for Mata, me included. He's come in since the Huddersfield mistake, hasn't kicked a ball. Jesse Lingard here and there, not good enough. So at the moment, we don't even have, without Pogba, yes, but we don't even have that solid link between midfield and attack, and that's a big problem as it is. So we've got a lot more problems than people see that Jose needs to fix. But again, if we can just get the results, even if we pick up the next 3 wins 1-0, I don't think people will care. We just need to get the points on the board. But that Arsenal game is a real key for me. We have to go and get the 9 points in the next 3 Premiership games and take it from there. Because for me, if we lose against Arsenal, I can't see City dropping points before then. If we lose against Arsenal, or even don't even win, let's face it, even don't even win,
it's still 10, wouldn't it?
It could be, yeah, exactly. If you're looking at a really, really big task, and then City's the next game after that. So even bigger problems. You don't want to have to be playing City, having to win to keep anything going for the season, because you're asking for trouble then.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I am excited. I don't know whether part of that is because it's the international breaks coming towards the end, Christmas is coming. I love the football over Christmas, and I am excited. And I was excited this time last year, and United can put and the year before with Van Gaal we were doing quite well, and United do have a tendency of popping your enthusiasm over Christmas in recent years. But Flex is right. How we approach that Arsenal game's massive. I look at Arsenal the way I look at Liverpool and City, and I think Chelsea, and I think we can go there and get a result. But if Mourinho doesn't go there with the right attitude, we won't. We'll get a draw. And the opposition will see an opportunity to get a result against us, like Chelsea did after the first 20 minutes, and their tails were up and they played with confidence, and we didn't. But I mean, don't put your mortgage on this, but I think we'll beat Newcastle next week. I think we'll beat Brighton. That's 6 points. I think we'll beat Watford, which is 9 points, and with them 9 points, whatever happens, we'll still be second, because if we're winning, because you know what? I'd rather now be concerned about 4th, 5th, 6th place now, when we're in a strong position of second, than in a few weeks' time when we've collapsed and we're down to 5th and we're chasing 4th, 3rd and 2nd. So I want us to do something about that now. I do think we'll get 9 points from Newcastle, Brighton and Watford. Then we've got Arsenal. If somehow, like Flex says, we can get a result there, Manchester City at home takes care of itself. Then we've got games that, yeah, they might be difficult, like West Brom away and Leicester away before Christmas, but we can win them games with the confidence that we've got from this. I think the next 3 games, we've got to take 9 points. You've got Zlatan, Pogba, Rojo, Fellaini all coming back. We get to Christmas, we're within 5 points of City, January transfer window, still in 2nd place. That is what my focus is at the moment, positivity. Like I said, I wouldn't put your mortgage on it, because United, it never goes to plan. But I think we've got to take those first 3 steps, take the 9 points, and then focus on those big games against Arsenal and City. I just want to ask you about, Ross, a lot of people have been on about the hotel thing with Mourinho again and why he looks so moody. For all the moodiness, he was over in Sweden the other night with Zlatan, looking at hopefully a certain number 10 that Sweden have. Look, I think Mourinho's focused on the job, and we've just got to try and be positive.
Yeah, I agree, and sometimes I do wonder because I think we do forget as fans that Jose is the absolute master of making himself the centre of attention and not the players. And sometimes, every time something like this comes out, it's always in the back of your head. I wonder if this is on purpose. I wonder if this is to detract from what has been a run of really poor form. Not just poor form, like Flex said, poor performances, and that Liverpool thing really gets on my nerves. The fact that we never went at him, that really does my head in, and that he is solely to blame for that in my eyes, and that's where probably this discontent comes from. But like you said, it can turn so easily. It can turn sour, but it could also turn great. But I think what the last few weeks has highlighted for me is our apparent squad depth and what is appearing to be an absolute lack of it, which is strange, really, because that's one thing that everyone's associated United with over the past 3-4 years, that, we may not have had a fantastic first 11, but the squad's always been so deep with talent. But it's not actually talent, if you look at it. And that's what worries me coming up to this Christmas run of games. Phil Jones worries me. The centre-backs worries me. We haven't got creative players in midfield. We're relying on one striker. The squad is so thin. And I'm comparing that to City's again, where they've got 3-4 players in every position. Yeah, it would be nice to have Guardiola's checkbook and go, okay, January we'll buy 2 number 10s, 2 centre-backs and 2 strikers. We can't do that, unfortunately. So it needs to be sorted out for me. The squad needs thinning out before it gets stronger. I think that's the way to go, but we don't have any squad depth in that team for me. I think it's very weak. The starting 11, when it's all fit, is fantastic, but we're never going to get a fit starting 11 all season.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've got to be honest. I'm going to go positive, because you should be positive in life before the negative hits you in the face, because it's going to hurt no matter what. So you may as well be positive. And I am positive. I'm looking forward to the Newcastle game next week and Brighton and Watford, but I'm very wary of those Arsenal and City games. And bring it on. That's what United's all about. We spoke about the Liverpool game before it. We spoke about the Chelsea game before it. I didn't actually see any United fans scared about those results. I think the only thing we're scared of is how we are going to approach the game. We're not scared of anybody. We're not going to say we're going to win, but I'm not scared, and that's what football's all about. We are going to talk I like to do a hidden question within the Sunday night show for the loyal United stand viewers who watch most of the show. Got a really good question we're going to talk about in about 10 minutes time, and I do want your input on it. And the lads don't even know what it is yet, so I think we're going to have a good debate on that one. But we've never hit 1,000 likes on a live show on a Sunday night before. We always do it on the watch along. So if we've got over 1,000 people, which we have, please do drop a like on the video, and let's see if we can hit 1,000 likes on the Sunday night show while we're live, because we've never done that, so that'll be something new. We can buy 2 centre-backs, says Steve Lebo, 2 number 10s and 2 number 9s. Our board just doesn't want to. That's why it's so frustrating. Somebody before did say that, Manchester United should have got Neymar. He would have come to United, but the board won't spend the money. I think you're right about that. Mini Diver says we can relax when any player of ours is linked to a Turkish team. They do not play well and seem to want rejects, or it has been on the cheap. I think I know who they're talking about there. I don't believe Fellaini is going to go. I think we need to go for Griezmann as soon as possible, says Andrew K. That might be to do with the topic we're going to speak about in a few minutes, so that's all I'm going to say. But speaking positively about Mourinho, Flex, and Herrera today made comments on the international break. They are quoted from him. And I love the way the press go with a certain comment, but even in the article they mention the second comment, which kills the first comment. And effectively, Herrera was talking about the Barcelona manager who used to be his manager at Bilbao, and he said, it's very rare that you have a manager who's so good, who's such a good person in real life. Now, first of all, that first statement, you think, oh, Herrera, what are you doing? You're angling for a move to Barcelona. But in the very same interview, in the very next paragraph, he says that Mourinho is not the persona that you see in the press. You can talk to him about everything. He's a really nice guy, and he loves working for him as well. So, this is what sort of Ross was on about, you were on about as well. It is international break, and the sensational headlines come out, and they tend to be around Manchester United. But, I don't know where you stand on Herrera. But, again, I was getting really angry about this. I think it was on Friday night, about people selling players when they're still here. He was Player of the Year last year. What are your thoughts? This is the three-stranded thing, really, for me. People openly talking about Pochettino and wanting him. people openly talking about getting rid of Herrera and not wanting him either.
Yeah, like you said, when the international breaks on, you get a lot of garbage. Literally, journalists, TV channels, whatever, social media, just throwing stuff up because out of sheer boredom. To be honest with you, sometimes it's funny to see some of the stories that are out there just to keep you ticking through a really dire 2 weeks of no Premiership football. So a lot of it is a lot of tongue in cheek. Some people try and unsettle players and unsettle clubs. I mean, on Herrera, I was been saying on social media, it's really interesting how there's all these rumours of him leaving and one of them wanted to move to Atletico Madrid, etc. All that's happened in 6 to 9 months. Last year, he was brilliant for us. I mean, I know everyone can remember that Chelsea game where he marked Hazard out the game, but he was much more than that last year. He was like the go-to man in terms of making us tick. He's that kind of midfielder that he does the dirty work that not a lot of people see. Like he instigates the pressing in our team when he plays. Not so much this season because he's been in and out of the side, and I think his form has suffered a bit. But certainly last year, under Mourinho, Mourinho loved him. He was almost the first name on the team sheet in the midfield, and he was at the heart of anything good. From the way we were playing last year, his pressing, he was tenacious. He does the ugly things. He'll trip players up and stop the counter attack. He's not afraid to take a yellow, and I think he's been treated a bit unfairly this year. Because we started so well, banging teams up 4-0 and everything was rosy. There wasn't a real need for him to play, which he was a victim of our success really early on. He had to come in sort of later on and found it difficult in some parts where we lacked creativity. That's not the biggest part of Herrera's game. He's not going to come in and get you loads of assists. That's not his game. He's a box-to-box midfielder who loves the tackle and is hungry to press the ball and win it back for the team and play from there. He can play a pass, yes, but that's not his main attribute. I think he still has a future at United. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I like to think as big as I can, and I always make up scenarios in my head of okay, we're away to Bayern Munich in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Is Herrera good enough, or are we good enough with Ashley Young at left fullback? And do you know what I mean? I like to think like that, and maybe he's not that kind of marquee guy. But in terms of in our squad, he's definitely a very good squad player, and in certain games he's proved how influential he can be from us. And you don't just go from hero to zero just like that because you're a rubbish player. Things happen and form goes and transitions in clubs and teams happen. So I think he's been treated a bit unfairly, in my opinion. I can't see him going anywhere. I think he loves United. I think he wants to be here. Jose likes him. Jose trusts him. But he's found his minutes a bit restricted this year. But provided he doesn't go the whole season having really kicked a ball, where he has to, look at his position at the club, I think he'll still be here.
It's interesting about Herrera. I saw a comment last week which really made me think, and I thought, spot on. Herrera's not passing forward anymore, and he's not making risky passes anymore, which is what he always used to do. And they didn't always used to come off, but he always did it. Why is that stopped? Who's told him to stop doing that? Because it's a big part of his game. And the second thing is if you know anything about Ander Herrera, and this goes back to his Atletico Bilbao days, if you look back at when he was at Bilbao, because I remember the season we nearly bought him, the Moyes debacle, and we sent fake representatives over there at the airport, and it was a shambles. And he ended up staying at Bilbao for a year. So I kept an eye on his time at Bilbao that season. And he started the season on the bench, and then towards the middle of the season, he came back into the team. He was their best player. So if you know anything about Herrera, it's not unusual for him to start the season slow and around Christmas time hit it hard and be brilliant, which is exactly what happened last year. So I'm a big fan of Herrera, and I think hopefully he will stay, and I want him to stay. I think he's an important player. I think there's way more dead. If you are one of them people who want to get rid of Herrera, I would say you've got more important things to worry about than Herrera. Herrera, even if you want to get rid of him, that's up to you. But there's loads of players who need to go before him. I'm talking people like Darmian, Blind, Jones, Smalling, Ashley Young, Fellaini. The list goes on and on before you even start thinking about Herrera. I was just reading in the comments there, Ross, I nearly called you out, has a 90 there, that's his Twitter feed. Ibrahim says that Paul Pogba's been live on TV on the EMA Awards in London. How cool is that? Also, we saw him with the French squad a couple of days ago. we're hoping he's going to be back. I suppose the pressure's not really that much on now with Pogba. It'd be nice to get him back for the Newcastle game, but we've got winnable games without him, which I don't think we did last month. I think we needed him. So we can sort of take our time a little bit. But how important is Pogba coming back? Because I was saying yesterday on the video that, look, Pogba back for me is really important, but I don't like what I'm reading. And I think Flex was on about it before, that when Pogba gets back, Mkhitaryan's going to be brilliant again, and United are going to start shitting gold. You know, world peace will be solved when Pogba's back fit for United. Pogba's been brilliant this season, but last season he was a bit mediocre, and he could go mediocre again. I don't think he will, but it worries me that effectively you're a one-man team if you're saying that when Pogba comes back everything's going to be great again.
Yeah, we do rely on him too much. We do. But I think most big clubs do rely on a big man. And I think United have always
De Bruyne at City.
Relied on... Yeah, De Bruyne at City, Ronaldo at Madrid, United with Ronaldo as well when we won the Champions League second time round. We've kind of always relied on big players. Even some of, Robin Van Persie title. There were some titles that Wayne Rooney won it single-handedly when he, was about 23. And I don't think that's unnatural. What's unnatural is the absolute lack of replacement, because there's absolutely nothing. But Pogba's absolutely huge for us, huge. And yeah, he was mediocre at points last season, and because of that, the team played very mediocre. This season, he started the season as probably the most informed midfielder in the Premier League, which is why we were hitting goals left, right and centre. And people would say that it was against lesser teams. Well, look what we're doing against the lesser teams now. We're struggling. And it is frustrating that we're so one-man team, because I think De Bruyne, City have a kind of replacement for him, and I don't think they would lose all hope, but I don't think they would have beaten teams like Arsenal without him, and Chelsea. So he's huge, absolutely huge for us, and we paid 90 million quid for him, so rightly so. And this injury has really wound me up. It kind of reminds me of the Luke Shaw thing, when it seems that when a player starts fulfilling their potential, something pulls them back. It happened with Luke Shaw, and it's kind of happened with Paul Pogba a little bit. So it's going to take time. And, just to contradict you a little bit, I think it's huge that he comes back for Newcastle, because when we play, Arsenal and Man City, we don't want a Pogba that's just come back, and has only played for 2 games. We need Pogba that's played a good run of games in a row and is back to his best, because that's going to take some time, which is going to be frustrating as well, because it'd be really surprising if he hits the ground running. But, Agent P again for France had a big hug with Griezmann, and I know you might talk about it in a bit, but it's huge as well for us to have him bringing players in for us.
Yeah, you might be on something like that in a few minutes. But George Kyle's just said there, the reason Pogba's so important to United is he's the only player who can play quick balls forward, which I think was a really good comment. And Zach MU sort of on that as well says Pogba will give service to Lukaku. And I think that's the problem United have had, especially over the last few weeks. But the ball from the back to the front is just either non-existent or way too slow. And Pogba will give us that. And Lukaku likes to play on the last man. So yeah, I hope he's back, and I think we will, regardless of whether we're a one-man team or not, I think Pogba in a Manchester United team makes us better. But I think we need what has been shown over the last few weeks is that we need more. We do need more, whether we've got Pogba or not. We need more. Where do you stand, Flex, on very quickly on this? The Mkhitaryan sort of future at Manchester United. Do you think Pogba back? We'll see Mkhitaryan back, or do you think it's? Do you think that's a bit of pie in the sky thought theory from some United fans?
With his future, I think it's really easy. With him, he needs to start playing well and start playing well quick before he just gets overlooked completely. In terms of Pogba coming back and him playing amazing, I don't think it's as easy as that. Even when Pogba was there, let's not make a mistake here. Mkhitaryan wasn't playing that great. Yes, he came alive. Maybe the last 5 to 10 minutes of a game, popped up with an assist, so technically he's done his job. Like you said about the stats packing, you're not actually contributing for 70% of the game, but the last 30% you might pop up and do something. And over the course of a season against better sides, where we really need your contribution when your final pass isn't that good, can you bring something else to the game? It's huge. So I don't think it's as sure shot as Pogba's back, Mkhitaryan instantly better again, because he wasn't playing that great when Pogba was there, if you ask me. And I think if you really did decipher his performances, you would see that it's easy to look great when you kind of you can play badly all game, take a corner and someone scores a header. You've got your assist. You're a number 10, so it goes for your tally for the season. Happy days. But football's a lot more than that, and that's why Mourinho kind of tries to jump to the defence of Lukaku, because he's saying, even if he's not scoring, what he's doing is phenomenal for the team. The way we play, he's our outlet, he's this, he's that. Because it isn't just about what you put down on paper at the end of the game, whether you score or assist. So yeah, so for Mkhitaryan, he's got a lot to do. I think he needs to find himself. I think he needs to find his confidence. I think he needs to potentially go back to being as hungry as he was probably this time last year when he was out the side and trying to fight to get back into it. That's what he needs to do. And he needs to find a way back in and quick before Jose starts looking elsewhere, in my opinion.
I think it's been interesting with Mkhitaryan. I mean, I personally just think let's drop him. Let's see if he's got the hunger to come back. I think we've tried playing him into form, and I think against Liverpool and Chelsea it cost us a lot of points because we were like 10 men. He was shocking in both those games, and am I critical of Mourinho on that? I'm not normally, but I think he got it wrong there. As Ross was saying, the tactics against Liverpool, he got it wrong, and I think sticking with Mkhitaryan was a risk, and it failed. But I just think he needs to be dropped now. I think he has lost himself, like Flex says, confidence, and drop him. Let's see if he's got the hunger to come back, is what I would say. and I would be, it's amazing. 2 months ago it was a real big debate, but I think, let's give Zlatan a run at number 10. He didn't always play for PSG as the out-and-out striker he played behind, so let's see. Let's give it a go. Competition for places, maybe what other people thrive on. January's not far away. For me, it's all about picking up the points. I can't remember whether it was Ross or Flex who said, look, I think it was Flex actually, if we win the next 3 games 1-0 and it's boring, I don't care. We need to get those 9 points. And if we're crawling towards the January transfer window, scraping points, all the better, because we'll spend money, and I think we need to do that. Let's talk about Griezmann then. That was the big topic. We're not quite at 1,000 likes. We're not even at 500. So please do drop a like on the video. There's over 1,600 of you watching. So you're very welcome tonight. If you are new to the United Stand, make sure you subscribe with that hologram in the bottom right hand corner. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock is the Skype show. So unscripted. We go live at 8 o'clock. We take your calls. So write some stuff down now maybe and get Skyping in tomorrow night. Fantastic channel you found on the United Stand with a really vibrant community. Griezmann, what are your thoughts on Griezmann? Sorry, Josh E's just made a contribution. He says, since Pogba injury, we haven't scored a decent goal. Interesting theory, and thanks for the contribution, Josh. Let's talk about Griezmann then. Let me give it a bit of context first. So, his brother, Theo, who's a big Manchester United fan, had, and Alec Dukas says that Mkhitaryan should be treated the same as Martial. Thank you for that, Alec. I do agree. His brother made a comment, 3 prayers and a picture of Old Trafford with the poppy on it today, and he actually took his account down because he got a lot of stick from Atletico Madrid fans. Griezmann, obviously Ross had that little hug with Pogba. He's also made a comment of, it'd be a dream to play with Mbappe and Neymar, which interpreted means it would be a dream to go and play for a part-time club in a pub league and earn loads of money. Are we? I mean, I said when Griezmann let us down in June, and I'm a massive fan of Griezmann, and I've sort of come round a bit, but in June I was furious. I was like, forget it. You get one chance with United, forget it, And I've sort of I've come round again, and I've said, you know what, I still really want him. I really, really like him. Are we setting ourselves up for a fall with Griezmann again?
No, I think he's coming. I think that the club, I hope, this is a massive hope, and I'm probably head in the clouds here, but I hope the club's actually held back a little bit knowing that transfer is going to happen. And I hope that there was a secret handshake somewhere where the deal's already done, and it wouldn't surprise me. He is mates with Pogba. This is his only, his boyhood club. His heroes played for our club, and this is his only chance. I was the same as you, Mark. I was livid. I was unfollowing in his brother, telling him that he was a lot, all sorts. Stupid, really, stupid reaction. But yeah, it's his one chance to play for us, and I think that he can play for PSG later on in his career, like Zlatan did when he's like 30. 34 if he wants to, if that's what he really wants. But this is his only chance to come to his boyhood club, and I think we have to go all out to get him. You spoke about the Neymar thing. I totally agree. I think that it was just annoying that we didn't even go in for him when he was so readily available. Wouldn't have cared if we went in for him and lost out. You'd have gone fair dues. But it seems like over the summer, our club just absolutely turned a blind eye to all the big transfer dealings in world football. And Mbappe was one of them as well. I'd have liked to have just seen us throw our hat into the ring. And Griezmann has to be ours, because if he isn't and we lose out on another world-class player, I just think it sends out a negative message across world football, because you've got to bounce back with these transfers. And if we got Griezmann, it would send out a fantastic message to world football that we've got Lukaku, Griezmann, Pogba, we've got other players around him, and we're coming back into the big leagues. But if we miss out on him and we end up looking for, a young talent, it's not going to look great. So I think it's going to happen, and I think that Woodward has to have a secret plan or a secret handshake in place.
It's interesting about Griezmann, because I did say when that deal fell through in June, a few people in the live comments are saying United stand went into a meltdown, which it did, and Ross alluded to it there. But there was lots of reasons for that meltdown, and that was, and I said it as well. I said, look, everyone was, oh yeah, let's go and get somebody else now, but I think you've got to have an understanding of how football works. And we'd been working on that Griezmann deal for about 6 months. All sorts of things would have been in place. He literally dropped out on that day in June. And United's big transfer plan was up the creek without a paddle. It was gone. You can't just suddenly turn your attention to Gareth Bale or Neymar or someone like that. And you can, but it's not easy, because instead of working on a deal for months, you're working on it for like days or weeks. So it did cause us a problem. There's no excuse for not getting Perisic at all. But in relation to Griezmann, Flex, I think what Ross is saying there is that he thinks it will happen, but it all depends on, are we banking that Griezmann actually has got a deal in place from last June where he said, I'm not coming now because of the Atletico Madrid transfer ban, but I will come in January or next summer. Do you think that's naive to think that, or do you think, yeah, he will come? Because let's not forget, his transfer release clause is 89 million. If he's not agreed anything with United verbally or whatever, gentleman's handshake, I think there'll be a big queue for Griezmann from PSG, from Barcelona, from even Real Madrid, from Chelsea, because 89 million pounds for 27-year-old Griezmann, when people are playing 150 for Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele, it's a bargain.
Exactly that. I mean, with that buyout clause, he probably makes him, in today's market, probably one of the biggest bargains in the world. Do I think he's going to come? Look, this is football. Anything can happen. Players have the power to do a lot of things. I think we will be trying to get him. I 100% believe that. I think we'll be doing everything within our power, like we did this summer, to try and get him. I don't think that. I do think it was a big surprise when he kind of came out and said that he wasn't going to come. And this season, Atletico Madrid haven't been too good. To talk to their manager leaving, his form hasn't been very good. Has only scored a few goals, so his own form hasn't been very good. And it looks like the project there, where they were quite a big force, is starting to kind of slow down. And it looks to me as if it's the end of their sort of good thing they had going on at Atletico. So I can see it happening. Am I 100% sure? Of course not. None of us can be, but I can see us sort of really trying to do it. And I agree with what Ross says there. I'd like to think that there was like a little gentleman's agreement to say, I do love Atletico Madrid. I don't want to leave you in the lurch. I know you can't buy any players. I'll tell you what, I'll give you one more year or 6 months until January, etc. And then we'll look at it then. The Pogba thing is massive. I mean, yes, these are superstar millionaire footballers, but they are normal geezers as well. And, it's like us playing football on a Saturday. You want your mates to come play with you. And I think we see that with Pogba and Lukaku. The relationship that they have off the pitch definitely transfers to the one they have on the pitch. And you can see the way Pogba always looks for Lukaku for the pass, and you can see the way they celebrate together. And you just look at Pogba and Griezmann together, you can tell they're genuine friends. And I think he, Agent P, as he calls himself, could actually play a massive part in that. And like Ross says, if we can boast and say we've got Pogba, Griezmann, Lukaku, Martial just off the side, we all of a sudden we look a whole different prospect playing against the bigger teams. Do you know what I mean? But playing devil's advocate like I always like to do. If we don't get him, I've seen a lot of comments saying about Dybala. Amazing player. There are other options out there. Some people have mentioned Draxler. I know the Ozil thing's kind of floating around. There are other options. So yes, Griezmann would be fantastic. But as we always say, no one player is bigger than the club, and no one target is bigger than the club. So we will have to find a way. And there are a few, and not a lot, but a few other players out there. So I don't think we should put all our eggs in that basket at all.
No, and I'll be talking about another option as a number 10 tomorrow on Red Rumours, which will go up at 1 o'clock. So everyone do watch that. There are other options, definitely. And that's going to be my next question to Ross, actually. But just looking at the live comments, it appears, I mean, this is rarer than Rocking Horse crap, this is. We've actually got a real-life City fan on the live comments. I mean, you don't see many of them, so you're privileged if you're on the live comments tonight to interact. It's like Santa being on there. This is special to see a City fan. I suspect they may well be on here because they want to see what a real club from Manchester in light blue looks like, and obviously I'm wearing it tonight. So very welcome. Look after yourself. You're a rare breed, and thanks for joining us, the City fan. But in all seriousness, I was being serious. I don't know why I said that. The only thing I would say about Griezmann is I agree with the lads. I do think he's coming. In fact, I did a video on it last week. I do think he's coming. But I don't like his comments about, oh, I'd like to play with Neymar and Mbappe at PSG. Why? Why do you want to do that? I mean, if you want to play with Mbappe and Neymar at Barcelona, I totally get it. Why do you want to play there at PSG? It's a pub league, mate. And just because you're going to earn a load of money, I just don't get that. And maybe that sort of psychology in Griezmann worries me a little bit. But I do think he's going to come to United. I do. If he didn't come to United, Ross, who would you fancy? Who do you think's realistic?
Realistically, I don't think Dybala's really an option. I think he's going to go to either Real Madrid or Barcelona, and they'll be steadying their checkbooks, which is for me why Griezmann has to happen. He seems to me, I mean, we forget that we got Woodward as our CEO, and he's running out of chances for me, which is why I'm pinning all my hopes on this Griezmann deal, just to go back to it, because if he doesn't pull it off, if I see in January Griezmann's gone to Barcelona and we've signed another noodles deal, I will lose my head. I would absolutely lose it. So that's got to stop. Dybala's name always pops up in my head, but I just don't think that I'd love him. I don't think the transfer could realistically happen. I don't know why. I don't really have a real reason for it, apart from I just can't. It seems a little bit to me like a Football Manager transfer, one that we'd all probably do if we had FIFA and Football Manager, but one that's not really ever going to happen. Aubameyang, I'm not so sure on. So yeah, it's for me, it's all hats in the ring for Griezmann. I'm kind of opposite to Flex. I think it is all eggs in one basket, and the transfer has to happen for me. It absolutely has to happen. So yeah, see what Woodward can do.
I think there are options. Maybe Pereira coming back, although I think that relationship might be terminal now. He doesn't sound like he wants to come back, and I think Mourinho was disappointed with him for going. I think Ozil would be good, but I'd be looking at Ozil probably a little bit more to the left rather than the number 10. It's interesting. You know what? I am genuinely excited about United, and I think I just feel, I keep saying this all the time, we can't ignore January. We cannot ignore it. World Cup summer coming up, that will halve the time we can do business because everyone will be involved in the World Cup. We know Woodward's quite slow at getting business done, so we've got to do business in January. And the great thing about this January is there's business that can be done that clubs can't really control. We know United get taken for a lot of money. Well, there's players coming out of contract like Sanchez, like Ozil. There's Griezmann, who's got a defined. I mean, somebody actually said to me today, if Barcelona outbid us for Griezmann, we've lost. Well, you can't outbid on a release clause. Not unless you've got Mr. Bean as your chairman. You would not outbid. You would offer 89 million because that's the release clause. There's nothing can be done. You can offer him more wages. You can offer him more signing on fee. But the actual fee is 89 million unless you're an idiot. You don't pay anything more than that. And it'll be down to the player. And hopefully, as the lads say there, hopefully there is a gentleman's agreement, which I think there is, because Griezmann has not been good for Atletico Madrid this year, and I think he has stayed there out of loyalty. So hopefully the loyalty that he was going to come to us will shine through. One thing I did want to mention as well, Flex, Phil Jones injured again. Thoughts?
My thoughts are the same as they always are. Not surprised. I was saying to someone today on Twitter, and they were saying that they think, Phil Jones is the best centre back. He's the best English defender, etc., etc. He's amazing. But I was saying he will never be fit enough to be truly the best, in my opinion. He's worse sick than Darren Anderton, and that's saying something. I don't know what it is with him. I can't understand why he gets injured all the time. I mean, it is a little bit of a farce. I don't understand. He's a big, strong geezer. He looks solid. I don't understand why his bones and muscles are so flimsy. I don't understand. Yes, when he's fit, he puts in some good performances, and he is solid. And I think he can be one of the best in the league. He is one of the best in the league when he performs. But because he's always injured, and even if he is on a run of games, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, that injury is just around the corner. You just know it is. So let's hope he's not out for too long. But again, even with him, I hate to say, to get rid of someone because they're always injured. But unfortunately, we all support Manchester United and not particularly one player. We don't support Phil Jones. Yes, we support him because he's a Manchester United player. But if we have to pick between the two, we all pick the club. So it might be a case of, Jonesy, mate, you keep getting injured too much. See you later. We can't afford to rely on you. We're paying you big wages. Big money every year, renewing your contract in the hope that we can get a whole season out of you. We haven't managed to do it once since he come from Blackburn. So I think his days could be numbered as well. It's a shame because, yes, he's a very good defender and, we want players like that at the club. But if you have a new employer and you say to your employer, I'm going to need a lot of time off work, mate, because I've got a lot of illness, they're not going to employ you. It's as simple as that. And that's where I lie with him.
It's good. I'm glad that you said that, actually, because I think, look, I know different fans support the club in different ways, but I'm pretty much on the same page with that. It's always Manchester United comes first, and I've said this quite consistently about Phil Jones, that I actually think he should have gone 2 years ago. I think the situation we're in now is where we were 2 years ago or 4 years ago. I think he's been here 6 years, and he very rarely plays more than 6 games in a row. And best centre back in the world. Call him that if you want. Let's say he is the best centre-back in the world. Let's be nice to Phil Jones and say he's the best centre-back in the world for this scenario. I'll still sell him because he's always getting injured. And that's really unfortunate for him. And it's really unfortunate for us if he is the best centre-back in the world. But as a centre-back especially, Ross, you've got to be able to play. We know great centre-back partnerships. We've seen them. Bruce Pallister, Ferdinand Vidic. We know that is built on consistency and building a partnership. And the one thing Phil Jones can't do, and it's not his fault, he is all action, he does try really hard, but his body is not capable, and he will always pick up injuries. And I don't know what the future is for him, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm unfortunate enough to grow up with a father that supports Tottenham Hotspurs, so he doesn't watch a lot of United. And he watched England the other day, and I said to him yesterday, Dad, what do you think of England the other night? And his one words to me was, I don't rate that Phil Jones, He looked really, really sloppy. And I think that's what other people generally think about him, other clubs. And sometimes I do wonder, have we got our United goggles on again? Do we think we've got something that isn't actually, we think we've got a gem, but is he really? And I think the answer is no. Why would you have a centre-back in your team? Are you going to win a Champions League with a centre-back that makes one catastrophic mistake every 5 games? And you just tend to think that that's okay because the rest of the time he's all right. No, it's not good enough for me. That's David Luiz territory. Your defenders have to be consistent 100% of the time. And talking about that with my dad, I just said, we miss Rio Ferdinand. And that's what everything that Phil Jones isn't. He's rash. He's uncontrollable. We miss that calm head in the centre of defence. It's not what Bailly is either. He's a little bit rash. Rio Ferdinand was just an elegant defender. He just kind of glided around the pitch. He didn't make mistakes, and we miss that. And it's what Phil Jones isn't. We've got Eric Bailly. We don't need someone next to him just as rash or even more rash than him. We need someone calm and composed, which is kind of why Bailly, Smalling works to a point. Even Bailly Blind, to be honest, works quite well. But we're missing that other centre-back, and I thought it was Lindelof. I've still got hope that it may be, but I'm not seeing much development there, to be honest. But I hope that changes. But for me, Phil Jones is a must-go. And I'm sorry, Phil, but You know, and where's he going to go? He'll probably go to Everton and sit on the bench with them for a little while.
It's a fair point, really, just on Jones, just to wrap it up, because obviously I think we're all in agreement that the injuries, through whether it's his fault or not, just mean that we can't trust him. And if you can't trust a player, harsh, you've got to get rid. But actually, somebody just said it there, when you look at the mistakes he's made this season already, he's cost us 4 points. And then 4 points would put us within 4 points of City. Stoke, he fell over on that cross. De Gea had just made a world-class save, and then Jones falls on his arse from the corner and gives him a free header. I mean, I'm surprised De Gea didn't just kick the shit out of him for that. But then, last week, he decides he's going on a Stamford Bridge Stadium tour and just goes into no man's land, and Morata's unmarked because we've got a 2 versus 3 situation. I mean, partly I think that was to do with Mkhitaryan as well, but Jones, you know, was highlighted as the concern there. So that, you know, he has made those errors as well, which I think we try to sort of ignore because we want to give him a chance, and we know it's not his fault that he gets injured. But I think that, you know,
it was also his injury, which is why we conceded them 2 goals for Lindelof as well. And
7 points.
He was back the following week as well, so the injury can't have been that bad.
Yeah, you're spot on. I'd forgotten about that. So that's 7 points that Phil Jones has indirectly cost us this season, which, you know, I'm not going to make a big issue out of that, but actually, because the injuries for me is the problem. But it's still raging on with the Manchester City fan. I think he's here because Manchester City just don't have any fan content, so he's feeling lonely. He wants some football friends. And although I'd tell a lie, the Blue Moon Rising was a Manchester City fan channel. They did have one, but they had to shut it down because they owed YouTube views. They were actually in negative views because it wasn't just no one was watching it; it was going negative. But I'm done. Thanks to my guests. Thanks to the live comments. It is Skype Goldbridge tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Well, we need a new name for it. It's a Skype-in on the United Stand at 8 o'clock for you lot. But thanks for coming on, Flex. Shout out your Twitter, and I think you're up at the Newcastle game next week. Is it for our 5 kickoff?
Yeah, we go again Saturday 5:30 kickoff. So if you're at the game, make sure you come and find me. And if not, just join the Twitter debates. Join what's going on there. Flex United Stand all one. So be sure to follow me on there. And yeah, we'll have a chit chat on there if you're not at the games.
Cheers, Flex. And Ross, great to have you on again as ever. That has a 90, isn't it?
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for having us on. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon.
Really enjoyed the show, everyone. International break is done as far as I'm concerned now. As soon as you hit the Sunday show before the next week, we'll be building towards Newcastle. We've got Skype tomorrow. Lots of things planned. Newcastle next Saturday. Remember, we've got the 24-hour charity stream next Saturday as well if you want to get involved in that. It'll be live from 9 o'clock AM on Saturday through to 9 AM on the Sunday. And there was something else I was going to say that escapes my mind. But yes, that was it. No more international breaks till the end of March now, so we've got football wall to wall until March. Can't wait. January transfer window. Loads going on. We just need United to kick themselves up the arse as well. And yeah, but thanks everyone for watching. You've been fantastic. Don't forget to drop a like and join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for the Skype show. Red Rumours tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Keep an eye on for that on your lunch break. I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers for coming on, lads.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having us. Cheers, Flex.
Yeah, no problem, man. Good to be back on again. Couldn't do it last week because obviously I was getting